Grownish is back for season 3. Zoey is still too distracted by boys and her problems to handle her business. Sky ends up with a junior lookalike. They're in a super nice new house. Plus, the person who I thought was pregnant ended up being the one who's pregnant because I'm always right. This is Grownish season 3, episode 1. Stay tuned. This is Talkin TV with Lex. Welcome to my channel. You're watching Talkin TV with Lex, and today we are talking Grownish season 1 episode 3 titled Crunch Time. But before we get into the show, make sure you like and comment this video. If you're not already, subscribe to my channel and turn those notifications on so you know anytime I drop a new video. Let's get into it. Alright, so all of our crew is back. It's season 3, junior year for most of them, senior year for Aaron. Everybody's back, and it seems like everybody's on a whole new mindset. As soon as Zoey gets there, they're having this massive party in their backyard, and it's the theme of Beyonce Beachella. I was at Beachella, so I could appreciate it. I thought that was really cool how they were able to do this party and how they made it a homecoming party for Zoey. I wish I had friends who threw parties like that for me when I came home from things, but you know, this is TV. The first thing I noticed upon her return is that they are living in this massive house. Now, this show is supposed to be set in LA, and I really just want to know how a bunch of college students were able to afford a house of this magnitude. I know they said that Vivek was a drug dealer, but I mean, is he like the plug? Like, is he the one distributing it out to people? Like, how are they able to afford this humongous house in LA? I live in LA, and I work a full-time job. I could pay really good money, and even with six of my friends, I don't know who could live in a house like that. So he must like be the cartel if he's able to pay that type of money. So I'm just gonna shoot this to the fact that it's TV and the fact that they're able to afford this. But there is no way a bunch of college students would be able to afford a house like that. That's just like off. Aside from all the other stuff I'm going to talk about. That was the first thing that popped in my mind when I saw that, is how the heck did they afford to pay for that type of house? But anyway, that's not what this episode is about. We get back and Zoey's like, you know, I'm killing it now. I'm a personal stylist for Joey Badass. She really is killing it, because I know people my age who would want that type of job. So for her to be having that type of job as a junior in college, she really is killing the game. But of course, because this is Grownish, she comes back, and the first thing on her mind is, I don't want to be distracted by any guys, i.e. Aaron and Luca, which is funny because they have basically been her distraction for the entire show. It was like that in season 1. It was Aaron, Luca, and Cash. Season 2, it was Luca mostly, and then Aaron. And now we're going into season 3, and it's the same distractions. But she claimed in this new season and in this new year of her life that it wasn't going to be like that anymore, which was exciting for me, because that's always something that I kind of didn't like about the show, was that they only made her so focused on dating and being in a relationship. It seems like every episode is about a guy or her dating someone. So I was like, okay, maybe this will be a season where we actually see them go to class, or we get to see her, you know, work this cool job, and she's actually doing things outside of being focused on a guy. But because this is Grownish, and that seems to be what their theme is, she comes and she's automatically distracted by Aaron. Now, when we left in season 2, they had this really weird situation when he dropped her off at the airport where they made out, and I guess since then they haven't talked and they never addressed it, so she's feeling really weird about it. Now, if it were me and I were in that situation, well, one, I don't think I'd ever be in that situation, but if I was in that situation where I made out with a guy that was just messing with my best friend, I think more of my concern would be about, oh, I have to go address this with Anna. I have to go tell her what happened with him. Because while Zoey technically, I guess, had him first, I feel like his situation with Anna was a lot more serious. They actually hooked up. They were actually like dating each other. And it seemed more like, even though they weren't technically together, it seemed more like a thing than Zoey. Zoey and Aaron always just had this kind of weird relationship. But with Anna and Aaron, I felt like it was more of a situationship, if not a relationship. So I felt like that she was going to come back and be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell my best friend that I kissed the guy that she liked? But she didn't have any concern about that at all. It was strictly just, how am I going to address the situation with Aaron? So after avoiding him, they finally talk to each other, and he's like, it's just a kiss. I don't care. Like, don't be weird about it. Now, he did just eat some shrooms and a weed brownie. So that may be why he was so chill about it, because I was actually surprised that he was so chill about it. But I do see what he was saying, and it really was just a kiss. We're basically grown in college. We didn't even hook up. He was like, if you want to hook up, we can, but it wasn't even that deep. And I kind of agree with that. Now, it seemed like the situation was deaded then, and like maybe they won't try to talk to each other in that way anymore on the show. My hope is that is. I feel like it's kind of getting old, this whole Zarin situation that they have going on. But I feel like because this has been the whole storyline with them and their situation through the entire show, I don't necessarily believe yet that they're not gonna have that be a thing anymore on the show. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So they deal with their situation, and even though she wasn't concerned about it, she does have the conversation with Anna and tells her, oh, I kissed Aaron. And Anna was like, I don't care, I've moved on, which I was surprised by. I think even if I moved on from a guy, I would still kind of be upset, because it's not about my feelings for the guy, it's about your loyalty to me as a friend. And maybe the situation is just different because Zoey and Aaron had that whole situation, and Anna kind of inserted herself into it, so maybe it kind of cancels each other out. But regardless, I think that it should have been a lot more of a conversation of the two. Or maybe I just need to learn how to not dwell on things. I don't know. Maybe I'm a Cancer, so we're sensitive. Anywho, so she deals with that situation with Aaron, and it's like, okay, distraction number 1 is out the way. But of course, distraction number 2 rears its head, and it's Luca. He's there. Now, usually I think Luca looks kind of weird. He always has his hair in a stupid way. But Luca was looking kind of good in this episode. I was like, either my taste has changed, or I don't know what it was. But I was like, okay, Luca, you're looking kind of cute. Okay. So they run into each other, and he immediately says, I think I should apologize to you. She's like, what do you mean you have to apologize to me? And I was thinking the same thing. What is he apologizing to her for? But he ends up apologizing for the situation with Joey Badass. But in apologizing to her, he says, he makes a comment about a lot of the things that she did in the relationship was wrong. And all I can think about in thinking back on season 2 is all of the stuff that he did to her. Now, Zoey is extra as hell. Let's be clear on that. But a lot of the situations that they were in together, and, fights and arguments and stuff they had, I felt all fell on Luca, because I feel like he has such a nonchalant attitude that it kind of comes off rude sometimes. But for the sake of the show, I'll let him have that. They have this conversation, and it seems to go pretty well, and she seems to kind of be over it until he mentions that he followed her to the airport the day she left. Now, I'm thinking it's going to be revealed that he saw her have that kiss with Aaron, and that's when I was like, ooh, this is going to be juicy. But I don't think he did, because looking back on season 2, I think he pulled up right after Aaron pulled off. But I thought in him bringing it up, he was going to bring up that he saw that. But he didn't. But just him saying that he followed her to the airport shook Zoey for some reason. So much so that even though her boss was telling her that she needed to get to him and was doing his way of letting her know, look, you have one more strike before you get fired, she still was like, no, I'm shook about this stuff that Luca told me. Who cares about that job right now? Now, this is the thing that frustrates me about Zoey, is she really do be coming up on some great situations. Like, she was just failing out last semester, but somehow she was able to get this coveted Teen Vogue internship. And now she's a stylist for Joey Badass. And all of this massiveness that she's able to obtain as a college student, her focus is still always only on a guy. It's like you have so much going for yourself, things that honestly, if Zoey were a real person, I don't think she really would be able to get. And she puts it off to the side like it's nothing for a guy. And it kills me every single time. And this episode was nothing different. She was threatened by her boss that she could get fired. And she still was like, I need to sit down with my girls and unpack what he said. I thought her friends were going to be like, girl, don't worry about that boy right now. Go handle your business with Joey. Because if I was Zoey's friend, that's what I would be saying to her. Like, stop worrying about these boys. But they were like, no, you need to go after him and figure out what it is. And I'm thinking, here we go again, Grownish, where we're about to have another whole season about Zoey chasing after a guy and completely forgetting about her responsibilities to focus on a guy. And I was like, I don't want to watch another whole season of this. But luckily, they called her out on it this season because she said in the show, she was like, this was supposed to be my year of being focused and killing it. And here I am going back to the Zoey of the past, focusing on a guy. And I was like, thank you, Grownish, for addressing the elephant in the room and for addressing that this is a problem that she has to fix. They further addressed it with Joey, who surprisingly didn't fire her. Hallelujah. She should be thanking her lucky stars. But you can tell that he's irritated because she's not focused on what she should be doing with him as her boss, but she's focused on her situation with Luca. But even in her unfocusedness, I don't know if that's a word, but even in her not being focused, you know, he's still there for her, giving her advice on what she should do. She tells him about the situation with Luca, and he's like, look, you have good instincts. You've helped me out. You put yourself in a good position. Stop questioning your situation with Luca. And he also said something that I didn't even think about, but I felt like was such a good point to put out. She was so focused on what he would have said to her if he had caught up with her at the airport. And Joey badass asked her, he said, if he did stop you, and depending on what he did say, would you have not gotten on the plane? And honestly, the Zoey that I have gotten to know on this show, I feel like wouldn't have gotten on the plane. Which I'm glad they addressed, because that's not okay. Like, you should never let a guy stop you from getting to the bag and handling your business. So I'm glad in this new season they're pointing out that Zoey needs to shift her focus and needs to focus on handling her business, because that's all I've wanted from Zoey on this show since season 1. I wish we would have gotten this Zoey from the very beginning. So I hope that in this new season, now that they've addressed that we'll see a new Zoey and she won't be so boy crazy, that she'll actually go to class, have fun, and that every storyline of this season won't just be about relationships and a guy. So we'll see if they hold true to that, but that's my hope so far from this season. One thing that has nothing to do with the overall plot of the show, and I think it's just a theme they were doing for the promos and the teasers and just for this season opener, is I'm not really feeling the whole HBCU thing. You know, when the show first came out, because Kenya is an HBCU grad, we actually went to the same HBCU. I was kind of hoping that they would have Zoey go to a HBCU, but I guess for the sake of the show and keeping her in Cali, she couldn't be that. And I just kind of came to grips with it. Like, okay, she's not an HBCU student. She goes to a PWI. But what's annoying to me is that they keep using these HBCU themes for the show. Like last season, they had the Different World theme. And this season, they have the whole marching band thing and stepping thing. I think it's mainly because of Beyonce and her Coachella theme. But regardless, Zoey doesn't go to HBCU. The show has nothing to do with an HBCU. Why do you keep using HBCU themed things to market this show? If you wanted it to have some sort of HBCU flair, why not just have her be at a HBCU? It kind of bothers me, and I hate to say it's appropriating because this show is created by a black writer, but it's like, don't take elements of our HBCU culture and put it at this PWI. Like, I could be being picky, I could be doing the most, I could be sensitive Twitter right now, but I just think that they should just embrace the fact that she's a black young woman at a PWI, and they could even make that part of the storyline, you know, how to battle being a black student at a PWI and kind of being the minority. I think that's something that hasn't been seen on TV and something that could be addressed, but instead they're just taking bits and pieces of HBCU culture and trying to input it into this show. And I don't know, for some reason that bothers me. Let me know in the comments if I'm just doing the most or if you agree with me. But that's just something that I personally didn't like leading up to this season and watching it on episode 1. Aaron is back and it's his senior year. I always forget that he's a year older than everybody because everybody he hangs with is the same age. But he's a year older and it's his senior year. And Diggy, who character name is escaping me right now, I always forget because I always just think of him as Diggy. It's like, it's your last first party and you need to live it up. And that made me laugh because I remember when I was a senior in college, every last first thing I always addressed is my last first day of school, my last first day of finals week, my last first whatever. I really used that out my senior year, so I thought it was really funny that that's kind of going to be Aaron's thing for the rest of the season. But I'm really excited to see that side of Aaron. Like, you know, we didn't see Aaron when he was a freshman. We just saw him, you know, once Zoey was there, and I think a big part of his storyline was him dealing with either chasing after Zoey or messing around with Anna. So I would love to see, and doing his, you know, activism and all that stuff. So I would love to see him in this season just let loose, have fun. I don't know about eating weed and mushroom brownies. That sounds like a suicide waiting to happen. But I'm excited to see a new loose Aaron who hopefully is gonna move on from Zoey. Like, I'm tired of seeing him chase after her. Like, I know that they're gonna introduce Ryan, who is going to play an HBCU transfer student. They didn't have her in this first episode, but I'm sure she's going to come up soon. Maybe that's going to be his love interest. I'm kind of over the whole Zoey and Aaron thing, and I like how in this new season he's going to be the new embracing the last first and enjoying my senior year moment. So maybe he won't want to date anybody. You know, this show is so focused on who you're dating. Maybe he's just going to be a hoe. Because in all honesty, that's what being in college is. I don't remember any guys when I was in college being so focused on being in a relationship and chasing after a girl. Everybody in my school were hoes. And maybe that was just my school. But I feel like that's a realistic side of college. And I want to see that side. So I'm hoping for a hoe Aaron this season. That's what I want. Scratch the whole Ryan HBCU transfer student and Aaron thing. I want to see whole Aaron just wilding out, completely going crazy, but still going to class, because that's what this show should be about. So excited to see where they take Aaron this season. So the biggest thing in all of the teasers and the trailers for this season was that somebody in this crew was going to be pregnant. Now, I always knew that it wasn't going to be Zoey. I just felt like they wouldn't make Zoey pregnant because, one, that changes the whole show for Grownish, and that also, I think, would change the dynamic on Blackish, because now they're going to have to deal with, you know, becoming grandparents and that side of thing, and I don't think anybody wants to see that. So I knew it wasn't Zoey, but I had been going back and forth with different people. We had all these theories on who was pregnant. A lot of my friends thought it was Anna, and they thought that it was Aaron's. I didn't think it was Anna's because I felt like it was going to make the show too complicated with the whole situation with Zoey and Aaron, and because in the teaser she screams, "We're gonna have a house baby," and I just feel like she seemed a little bit too excited for it to be her. I thought it was Nomi from the get-go because we barely saw her in any of the promos, and I was like, okay, either this girl is no longer a character on the show, or she's pregnant and they don't want anybody to know because they want that to be the big reveal. So it was revealed in this episode that it is Nomi. She is pregnant. We didn't really get any answers from her on how this happened because Nomi has been, well, she's been bisexual because she has dated guys on the show. But mostly on the show she's dated women. And then she had that whole situation with their professor last season. So I'm excited and curious to see how Nomi ended up in that predicament and how that's going to kind of change the dynamic of the group. But I can go back to all my friends now and say, I told you, I knew it was Nomi. I knew it when I didn't see her in the promos. I was right, and now we have a house baby coming. So it's exciting to see what's going to happen with that. That pretty much wraps up the episode. Another thing that happened is we kind of see Sky start talking to a new dude. I'm disappointed because, you know, they had her messing around with Junior in previous seasons. And while I knew they weren't going to make Junior a permanent part of the show, I kind of liked how he would come in and out and that would be kind of like her flirt buddy. But they ended up bringing somebody who looks exactly like Junior into the equation. So I'm wondering if it's going to be her now dealing with the relationship, or if it's just going to be like a one and done type of situation just for that episode. Like I said, they focus so much on dating and relationships on this show that I wouldn't be surprised if they're introducing a whole new boyfriend for Sky. But Sky has always been the one on the show, aside from her small situations with Junior, who was kind of always by herself. So I am happy that Sky is going to, you know, get her some. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning into my very first review video on my channel. This is Talking TV with Lex. I'm going to be doing the entire season of Grownish, so you'll get to watch all my crazy thoughts as the season goes on. Make sure you like, comment, and make sure you are subscribed to my channel. And you can turn those notifications on so you know when the next Grownish video is coming or when any other new videos are coming. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, talk to you guys later.